Well, this one was actually a bit of an interesting one this time. As I was actually left in a bit with a bit of a shock, and for all intents and purposes. Now, on the one hand, you could say, well, what do you mean shock? Like, did you suddenly not like this episode? Oh no, it's an A rank episode through and through. No, what shocked me was the preference points because both points got given to the sub. Now, if you're not understanding why that's weird, well, I'm somebody who has historically enjoyed watching the dub. So to suddenly shift over and have this to have this two-parter be, awesome and epic all of a sudden is just kind of you know. But still, second last episode of the Grand Championship arc. Fuck. I am kind of, and this is the best, and I'm not even gonna play coy about it. This is the best duel of this arc, without question. It's not that the Duel King Decider match, as the sub calls it, is bad. It's just it's not as good, and I don't want that in my I don't want that in my shot. So I'm actually gonna put that over there. But yeah, no. The So we've actually got quite a bit to talk about in this two-parter. So here's how this is going to work. I'm going to talk about the about Siegfried and his motives first. Then we're going to shift over to the duel, and then we're going to talk about it because we have a lot to talk about when it comes to this episode. The duel in this two-parter. So let's just get right on into it. First and foremost, host. So the sub actually makes the duel between Leon and Siegfried seem like it's going to be this big epic thing, right? More so than in the dub. And I'm kind of undecided of which I prefer. On the one hand, I could say, I mean, does it really need to be epic in scope? Oh, but the answer is not really. But at the same time, I do kind of understand why Kaiba Corp would hype up a duel like this, right? Because they want the publicity. Simple as that. Eight. So then Kaiba shows up and he's like, "I declare this match invalid. I declare this invalid." There's the origin of that meme. If you've ever wondered where the hell that meme came from, I admit I forgot where that meme came from, but now I remember. So there it is. And he basically says, you entered under a false name. I'm kicking you out. The funny thing about it is in the sub, he's basically stating that his reason is you entered into a false name. That's actually why Grandpa kind of has that reaction that he does, like, yeah, shame on you, Siegfried, for entering under a false name. Now, I did actually ask a question in my sub notes: was Grandpa properly registered? But the more I think about it, the more I'm like, well, no, because he directly talked to Mokuba, so they knew who the hell he was right from the beginning. So I suppose that actually is. I guess my statement is invalid. Seto Kaiba declares his Blue Wolf statement invalid. God, now I know why that became a meme. God. Oh, anyway, so let's just get into Siegfried's shit. So Siegfried is revealed to be Siegfried von Schroeder. I don't like you, get out of here, piss off. And Siegfried in both versions basically calls Kaiba a coward. Siegfried's response to being told to get lost is like, so much for having class, huh, Siegfried? ugh, being a. But then again, he is of course nobility, so I suppose that actually makes sense that he'd be a stuck-up piece of shit. But let's not get into that. Instead, let's talk about Schroeder Corp. So Schroeder Corp was effectively in the exact same it's basically Diet Kaiba Corp. I suppose you could even go so far as to say European Kaiba Corp, but you get my point. See, the Schroeder Corp effectively was a weapon manufacturing company, but because Siegfried's father just kept losing to Gosaburo, losing. When Siegfried took over, he was like, "All right, fuck that. Let's go into the game into the game industry because the game industry is effectively an untapped market, right? We can make bank if we go into the game industry. You know, if we revolutionize the game industry, we can make it work because obviously we can't revolutionize the weapons industry. There's no point to that." Now, the thought process that Siegfried had at the time was logical. Kaiba Corp's going to keep going in the weapons manufacturing direction, right? Well, turns out that his first day as president, he gets told that Kaiba Corp made an announcement that they were switching to being a game company as well. So Siegfried starts frantically trying to develop a technology, and he ends up succeeding in creating the dual boxes from the manga. I'm not even joking. That's actually what that is. That's what he develops. His holographic technology does that. But of course, because Seto Kaiba invented vision, and solid vision is of a higher class, Siegfried missed his chance, and the patent for solid vision actually went to Kaiba Corp. He was just a little bit too late. Now he admits that in the sub, he's like, "Oh, meh, 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 meh. You beat me to the punch, and I've been bitter ever since." In the dub, he tries to claim that Kaiba stole his work. Yeah, no, he didn't. The funny thing is that if you look at his blueprints, Siegfried and Kaiba were developing similar tech, not the same tech. It's kind of a similar vein as the whole argument of did Babylon 5 did DS9 rip off Babylon 5? Did Star Trek Deep Space 9 and Babylon 5 rip each other off? It's more likely to say that it would be more accurate to say that they are very similar, but they were vastly different. I mean, all you have to really do is look up a full synopsis of the show to really understand that those are two entirely different, different beasts as far as sci-fi goes, right? I mean, the closest we ever came to a corrupt Earth Gub of official in Star Trek was a Starfleet admiral who was trying to increase security by effectively becoming a dictator. Sadly, it's just he had to come to realize that that was what he was doing. Yeah, he had to have that fact shoved into his face. But yeah, no. Siegfried's motive is extremely, extremely fucking petty, and it's just pathetic. Absolutely pathetic. Headache. Drives me just batty on every point. Wait. And the sub really, really hammers this point in more so than in the dub, admittedly. But yeah, that's basically all I have to say about Siegfried. His motivation is petty. He's pathetic. Headache, he's dumb, and he's the worst villain in the show. As a result, his motivation is petty, and he's just so sucky. I mean, hell, we haven't even seen his grand master plan yet, and I gotta tell you, when we see his grand plan, I'm not impressed, not in the slightest. So we get into the duel. Cool. Cool. I actually agree with Joey in the dub. Of all the people that are, I don't like Kaiba, but anybody's better than Siegfried, and I'm just like, yeah, oh yeah, I agree with that, Joey. So the duel begins. There's some good back and forth. Or Siegfried immediately goes into Ride of the Valkyries and brings out Swite, Dritter, and Ersta, and tries to go for game. But unfortunately, Kaiba has one of his favorite cards, which is still a quick play spell card here, Negate Attack. Heck, battle phase is ended. Well, unfortunately, Siegfried has a card called Mischief of the Time Goddess. So what this thing effectively does is you activate it, it is now the battle phase of your next turn. So you effectively skip a turn. That's why the Valkyries don't return to the deck, because, again, the end phase of the turn in which Ride of the Valkyries was activated was completely skipped. Therefore, that end phase didn't happen, therefore, the Valkyries don't have to return to the deck. Sense make? Which is funny because this can actually circumvent. This actually can circumvent the Neos fusions, Elemental Hero Neos as well. But I'm pretty sure we never see this card again, and I'm not gonna waste time by looking it up right now. Well, I guess actually I can quickly look it up because I have it right here. There it is, Mischief of the Time Goddess. How to switch the real-life version apparently cannot be activated as Chainlink 2 or higher. There, and it basically has to be activated. Its effect goes into effect at the end of your battle phase. If all monsters you control are Valkyrie monsters as well. Oh, that's an interesting restriction. Fiction. You can send this card to the graveyard. Also, immediately after this effect resolves, skip to the start of the battle phase of your next turn. If you do, you cannot activate Mischief of the Time Goddess until the end of that turn. So, there you go. And as for appearances, oh, it actually did appear. I am wrong. My bad. It actually appears in one episode of GX. Hex, played by Prince Ojin. If you're wondering, if you're like, who the fuck is that? That's the dude that Sartorius beats in one turn. In episode 84 of GX. So we won't be getting to that for a while. Just saying. But anyways, so then so Kaiba gets some stuff in and whatnot, and then there's some good back and forth, and then Fortune Chariot is used so that the Valkyries can bypass the now disabled by Nibelung's Ring XYZ Dragon Cannon, and then to get at Kaiba's life points, and that's how part 1 ends. We get to part 2, and Kaiba uses attack guidance armor to try and deal with one of the Valkyries. Unfortunately, Wotan's Judgment is actually used as the fandom wiki says it's supposed to be. Go figure. And then Seto immediately puts the point in the sub's favor when the 3 goddess spells are used. Nothing important. Seto immediately gives the point to the sub because of something he says in part 2 in the sub. He basically calls the goddess combo something a rat would use. Now, if you're not understanding why that would immediately give the point to the sub, well, in the dub, Kaiba says that lame strategy may have worked on somebody like Wheeler, but it won't work on me. Yeah, Seto by proxy was nicer to Jinochi than Kaiba was to Joey. Petty reason, I know, but I kind of like I kind of like the sass on Seto in this episode. What can I say? So then Siegfried is like, well, fuck you too, Kaiba. Kaiba, goddesses, show me his future. 3 blue eyes, white dragons. Just 3 blue eyes right there. God, I fucking love that shot. That shot is fucking poetry. In both versions, he's like, you gotta be fucking kidding me. 3 blue eyes? In the sub, Kaiba's just like, judging from your face, I would say my destiny's pretty good. And in the sub, Seto is like, hey, he actually asks Siegfried a question. Why are you so pale? Did you see your defeat? And my note just says it all. Yes, he did, Seto. Which is ironic because, yes, he actually did. When you think about it, because what's the final move of this thing? Triple burst stream to end it. Ha! Yes. Not all at once, like when Yugi defeated Noah, but still, just as cool in my opinion. So then Siegfried uses Griffin's Feather Duster to get rid of the goddess card so he can regain some life points, and then calls on Brunhilde from the first time. Then he goes into his backstory, but then Kaiba shows why he's actually never stolen anything by bringing out for the first and only time in all of Yu-Gi-Oh! DM, he brings out Chaos Emperor Dragon, Envoy of the End. The card that, combined with Yatagarasu, created the ban list. Alright, we gotta talk about this. I actually have it in all in caps, underlined, 3 exclamation marks, making sure I frickin' talk about this. So, the Chaos Emperor, the Yatagarasu lock is effectively used with Chaos Emperor Dragon. See, Chaos Emperor Dragon had to get an errata later on that effectively said you can't activate other cards and effects on the turn you activate its effect, right? So, before, it was basically just, it was effectively something you could just do with 1,000 life points as long as you remove a light and a dark from your graveyard. What it does is you pay 1,000 life points, you burn all cards on the field and in the hand, and the opponent takes 300 cards for every card sent to the graveyard. Just your opponent, by the way. That's why Kaiba doesn't lose anything. I actually did look it up, which is just crazy. I love it. I absolutely freaking love it. Oh, I should also mention that there's a card called the Valkyrie's Embrace, which is actually something that he uses to get rid of one of Kaiba's cards, but oops. Oh well. Not that important, admittedly. So then Siegfried activates Magical Arms, which effectively has each player predict how many spell cards they're going to use in a turn, and both players gain points for each for times the number of cards declared. However, if you use less than that, then then you take damage equal to 1,000 times the number of cards. Now, I'm actually going to look something up with it. Alms? Is that what it is? It is. Oh, it's alms. Excuse me. I could have sworn it's supposed to be the magical arms, but whatever. Which also has no thing. So when you activate it, you gain 1,000 during each player's turn. The turn player must predict how many spell cards they will activate for the rest of the turn. Then both players gain 500 life points times the number of cards predicted. During each player's end phase, if the turn player activated less cards than they predicted, they take 1,000 damage times the number of spell cards. Or is predicted. Oh, just you lose 1,000 per the number you predicted. So never mind. I mean, damn, that can be devastating. It does not say that if you activate more, you have it or anything happens, which is ironic. But anyway, point is, this leads to an epic moment with Kaiba. He draws a card, or he looks at it and he's like, "All right, I predict I'm gonna activate 4 cards this turn." And then it's just like 4, but you only have 1. Well, you're about to find out. First card, Card of Demise. This is the anime version, which means I draw 5 cards. And if I don't use them in 5 turns, I lose them in 5 turns. But considering there is no next turn, well, here we are. Our second card, Soul Release, which removes another one of my dragons from the game. Then we have. Then the third card is Spell Reproduction, which allows the card that lets me discard 2 spell cards and put 1 back in my hand, which I believe is actually Magical Stone Excavation in the real card game, but it's Spell Reproduction in here. Which, funny enough, I can actually just look that up right now because I have the wiki open, so let's look up Spell Reproduction. No, actually, Spell Reproduction works exactly as it does here. Huh. You discard 2 spell cards, and then you add 1 spell card from your graveyard to your hand. Huh. Then what the hell is Magical Stone Excavation's real... Nation's effect? Any 2 cards, and then add a spell card to your hand. Oh, so in other words, our Magical Stone Excavation is a better version of Spell Reproduction. Never mind. Spell Reproduction is the card that he uses for the record, and that's spell card number 3. And then spell card number 4, Dimension Fusion. Pay 2,000 life points, both players summon all monsters that have been removed from play as possible, and which leads to an epic, I don't even need my notes for the rest of this, which leads to the epic moment of Luster Dragon number 2, Chaos Emperor Dragon, again, and 3 Blue Eyes showing up. Kaiba sacks all but 50 of his life points to have Luster Dragon attack into Brunhilde to lower her down to 3,000. Then sacks Chaos Emperor Dragon in order to remove 1,000 of Brunhilde's defense points, because she can sack defense points to stay alive. Then, in Blue Eyes number 1 smacks her, because now she's gone down to 2,700 because there's only 3 dragons on the field, which brings Siegfried down to 3,300. Then, in the second Blue Eyes destroys Brunhilde, which brings Siegfried down to 3,000. The cat is being dumb. because it doesn't understand not interrupting me. And then the third Blue Eyes sings Siegfried a requiem, and brings an end to the duel with the final attack. I've heard that there's actually an error that I didn't actually catch. I wasn't really paying that close attention to the life points, admittedly, but apparently that where Siegfried should be when Blue Eyes launches its final attack is actually at 2,700 life points. Fun fact. Now, that doesn't mean shit. Let's just be real. The point is that Siegfried has enough life, there's low enough life points that Blue Eyes attacking directly ends the duel. So getting butthurt that Siegfried's at 3,000 instead of 2,700 when Blue Eyes finishes him off is a little pedantic, and it's not a complaint I'm ever going to lob, personally, because duh, right? But that's it. That is it for Siegfried's duels, and that is also it for the Valkyries. Let me go ahead and say this as bluntly as I can. Siegfried's deck was actually pretty cheap, and yet now with the advantage of hindsight, it's only cheap because of how limited the options were back then. Nowadays, Siegfried would get his ass stomped into the ground. Oh, I mean, Jesus. Anti-spell fragrance. You're done. You're done, son. And, your goddesses are not activating on the turn you place them on the field. Ah! Suck it. You know. Combine that with the fact that Harpy's Feather Duster is actually legal in this frickin' it is finally legal in the real card game, and well, there you go. But yeah, there's also a bit of foreshadowing. He's actually got the Golden Castle Stromberg in his hand at the end. It's just an animation. It's just an animation thing of foreshadowing the next episode because Siegfried thought his skills would be enough to defeat Kaiba, and he was wrong. And that's it. This was a surprisingly good. This was still a good two-parter. I still love this two-parter. It's an A rank because the animation kind of sucks, admittedly, which I didn't really comment on because I didn't feel the need to. But there it is. Next up, next week we finally end the KC Grand Prix and we can get into the stuff that I really want to talk about, namely the World of Memories arc. The Millennium World arc. Until next time, this is Blue Wolf Alex of the Lore Walkers signing out. Have a good one. Duel stand by.